Hi, guys.
What's going on, family? RevGracey coming to you live and direct. Good to see you, everybody that's tuning in. If you could do me a favor, share us, whatever's necessary to get the word out. We're trying to make sure that everybody that we can, or everybody that needs it, it's available to them. So I ask that you would either swipe right or swipe down or swipe. Y'all know how to swipe.
Y'all know how to swipe.
Y'all know what you're doing. Hey, Chris, how are you? It's good to see you.
Hey.
If you were following on the M3 page or on our page, you saw a picture that was posted, kind of the promo of tonight, that says, "I promise to hate you, despise you, and abuse you until death do us part." Which is kind of a flip side, which is, "I promise to love, honor, and cherish you until death do us part." Yeah. So what we're going to talk about tonight is basically what not only your vows mean, but really how far do they go? How far do they go?
Wow.
And I'm going to let my wife kind of lead. I'm going to come with the more biblical side of it, which is not always so fun. So I'm going to let my wife lead in. She received a question from one of our viewers, and we'll kind of jump in there.
Okay. So earlier this week, I don't if you follow my page, then you saw it. I midweek just kind of did a Making Marriage Matters bonus edition, and I was talking about our vows and how we we say for better or for worse, or in richer, for richer, for poor, in sickness and in health, but do we truly mean that? This particular week, we have a loved one that has been very sick and ill, and his wife has been by his side through this illness, and just watching her care for him and make different decisions for him just kind of opens your senses up to, when I stand up here and I say in sickness and in health, do I really mean in sickness and in health when it's cancer, or am I going to bail? For better or for worse, do I really mean that, or when it's something that's my worst, I'm not sticking around anymore? And so the question that I received was, how far do you take for better or for worse when it's an abusive situation? Do you stick it out? What is it that you do? And so my suggestion was, are you getting the comments?
Yeah.
My suggestion to the person was, one, has the couple seek counseling yet? Is the abuse linked to something such as drug use or alcohol abuse? Because if it is, then that's kind of the root of the problem. And so let's tackle it from there. And so they responded and said, no, there was no abuse in the situation. There were no drug or alcohol abuse, I should say, in the situation. So, what do you do? Well, you kind of got to get to the root of the matter. What is it that's causing this person, be it man or woman, to be so angry that they feel like they need to put their hands on their spouse? You look like you got something to say. Or say hurtful things,
and I'll leave. Usually, when you get into verbal abuse or mental abuse, usually it comes from a woman to a man. Mental abuse usually goes both ways. Physical abuse is usually a man to a woman.
Words do cut.
And this particular subject always gets under my skin. Anybody that knows me knows I'm a proponent of love, and
we love love.
We love love, and what I don't often say, one of the worst, and my wife may or may not know this, but one of the worst experiences that I've ever had with her is during an argument that we had. And during that argument, I made a move, not an aggressive move towards her, but I did move, and she flinched, physically flinched, like I was going to attack her. I can't even tell you what that conversation, what that argument was about. But that will always.
God, that's a long time ago.
Yeah, it was forever ago, and it will always stick in my mind because, for me, I was raised by my mom. I was taught never, in any circumstance, to put your hands on a woman. It's just not something that you do as a man. If you're going to be a man, then be a man. Well, when she flinched, it almost made me more angry that she would think that I would even fathom putting my hands on her. And it changed the conversation from that point forward. Like I said, I can't remember what we were arguing about, but the argument from there went from whatever it was to, I can't believe you would even think that I would put my hands on you. What type of person do you take me for? What type of man do you think that you're talking to? Without knowing her past history or anything like that, I was angry, and I was infuriated. To be honest with you, it was to the point where I was like, I can't even believe that you would even,
And I will add to this.
Okay.
This was very early in our relationship. We were. This is very early on in our relationship, and in a past relationship, the situation wasn't always kosher, and there was times where there was some physical contact involved, not with him. That thing is flinching in your head. I don't like
a man that will put his hands on a woman.
So, with that being said, it's certain things that at that point, because we were so early in our relationship, there were trigger points that if you moved a certain way, or if I knew things were getting a little heated, and
television and society has made it easy for women to believe that men will put their hands on them.
Yeah.
As our job as men, it's my job to protect.
Yeah.
So if I'm going to protect, I can't harm at the same time.
Right.
So whenever you talk about abusive relationships, because I'm so far from it, it automatically makes me kind of go into a place that's kind of dark in my life, because I don't really even understand the mindset of somebody that thinks it's okay to abuse somebody they love. That being said, the only way that I can attack it is to attack it as a Christian. Doc, if you only knew, the Lord has delivered me.
Oh, Jesus, we done come a mighty long way.
Lord.
And we got a mighty long way to go.
Mighty long way to go. Sometimes I think I stopped being so physical because I just got too old to fight. It's just a fight now, man. It's just not worth it. So
a fight now ain't like a fight used to be.
No. People don't fight no more. I used to fight for fun.
Okay. Stay on course.
Stay on course. When I think of this, I can only attack it from a biblical standpoint. And what I am going to say next is not going to be popular. It is not going to be easy to swallow. It is not going to be something that is easily taken. It may offend some people. It may rub some people the wrong way. And I may lose some people. But my job as Reverend Gracie, now that I have that title, now that God has placed it upon my life to share what the Word of God says, I can only give you advice based upon what Scripture says. So that being said, when dealing with situations that are not so good, abusive situations, if you have now trust me, I've had some male friends in abusive situations. And I kind of smirk a little bit because you don't hear about it often.
Don't smirk. That's not
I
nice.
mean, but when they first said it, I was like, Doc, man, come on. It's not that bad. But verbally, I have seen a woman slice, cut, dice,
Ooh-wee.
dissect, and leave men basically as a lump of mush.
Yeah.
And I never. They can be lethal with their vocabulary.
Exactly.
There you go.
Exactly.
Lethal with their vocabulary. That's an excellent way to put it. Now, God be praised, I didn't marry I married a mouthy woman. But I didn't marry a verbally attacking woman, and there is a difference, and maybe we'll get into that also.
Okay.
But there's definitely a difference there. But when dealing with abuse in your relationship, I think it's necessary, first of all, to seek the word of God.
Exactly.
Now, this is strictly for people that have already made a vow to God.
If you in an abusive relationship and you ain't took no vows, get out.
Get out immediately. There's
no
unless God himself has physically told you,
you gotta stay.
This is where you're supposed to be. Leave.
Yeah.
Do not stay in a physically abusive relationship, a mentally abusive relationship, a spiritually abusive relationship. Do not stay in any type of abusive relationship if you are not married.
Exactly.
If you are not married, there are no vows there.
You ain't make no promise to God.
You ain't make no promise to God. Now look, this is stepping out. I don't care if you have a child with him or her.
You still didn't make no vow.
This is not. You have to leave for the protection of you
and your child.
Get up, get out, and get something.
Exactly.
So I say that first and foremost, with all diligence, leave. But if leaving is no longer an option, what do you do?
Exactly.
If you've made vows, and like I said, we're going to have to go over a vow scope, because vows are not just between you and your wife.
Didn't we do a vow scope?
We started it and we didn't finish it. We didn't go all the way into it.
Okay. Maybe that'll be next week.
Vows are not just between you and your wife. It's not something that you do just because it's the wedding day and it's what's expected of you. Vows are a covenant between you, your spouse, and your God.
Exactly.
Now, when you make a covenant with God, you cannot break it. For the simple fact, if God has stood and said that I am the I am.
You got your real preacher voice on, I'm sorry.
If do I really?
Yeah, God.
If maybe it's just the way I say God.
God.
If God
Sorry.
speaks to you in that manner, and when he said to Moses that I am the I am, he wasn't saying that because he had a lack of vocabulary. He wasn't saying that because he didn't know how to represent himself. He was saying that because, yeah, absolutely. He was saying that because whatever you can fathom, whatever you need, whatever you are lacking, that's what I am.
I am that.
So when you're in that situation, you have to realize that not only are you fighting for your marriage, even if your spouse is pulling the other way. And the neat thing about a braid, and if you've ever braided hair, even if you pull one of the three strands away, if two strands pull the other way, it does nothing but tighten the braid.
Right.
It does nothing but make it stronger. So even if you're in a situation where one person is trying to pull in a different direction, as long as you are on the same page as God, two is always greater than one.
Exactly.
Now, as far as abusive relationships go, there are plenty of women, plenty of men, but plenty of women that will tell you, if you're in an abusive relationship, immediately leave.
Now, for safety purposes, if he is beating your tail, you need to leave the house. You need to leave the home.
Leave the home.
You need to leave the home. Don't leave the marriage.
Don't leave the marriage.
Leave the
And
home.
and I'll to try to explain that a little better is put yourself in a safe position, but don't put yourself outside of God's will.
Exactly.
If you're in an abusive relationship, abuse is when you say I do to a lot that you don't realize, and that is a challenge.
It is a challenge
for some women.
And I think it's a challenge because the abuse is physical, and so if there's marks that can be seen, then instantly people tell you need to leave him. You gotta go. You need to leave him. Our stance is that you leave the home, yes, because you have to get to safety. But at the same point, you have to seek help so that you can help your marriage.
And now this is, I counsel married people. Counseling, absolutely. I counsel married people. I counsel single people. But in all of my counseling, I have to bring God into the picture.
Exactly.
For the simple fact that He's the only one that can fix it. So, mental and emotional abuse, absolutely. If you are being mentally or emotionally abused,
leave the home, but don't leave the marriage.
Don't leave the marriage. And the reason I say that is because if God has put you in a situation, and this is tough for a lot of us. If God has put you in a situation, then it's for a reason.
He's very intentional in everything he does.
No physical scars at all. But there's mental baggage, emotional baggage that could take place, that will take place. So, at the same steps have to be made for emotional and what's the other one?
Mental. The comment was a lot of times physical abuse comes with financial abuse, and the wife doesn't have the means to leave. And that particular situation, you might have to go crash on somebody's couch until things settle down a little bit.
And okay, let me get to what I'm saying.
Get to the word, and then we'll
Bible
bring the
says,
word. Right. The word of God.
Romans 8:28, Paul's letter to the Romans, which is one of my favorite. First of all, Romans is one of my favorite books of the Bible. Romans 8:28 through 39 is by far my favorite scripture of the Bible. Besides John 3:16, we got to get through salvation. I love it. But Romans 8:28 literally says, and I'll give you the RevGracey version.
Can we give the actual version and then the RevGracey version?
Yes.
I don't want nobody saying that we didn't change the Bible or nothing like that.
All right.
Let's be by the book.
Would you like me to read the King James version?
Yeah.
King James version. Romans 8:28. I have so many versions here.
You just passed it. I just saw it. Oh wait, that was King James 2000.
And we know that all things work together for good to them that love God, to them that are called according to His purpose. The difficulty that we have in that, because if that doesn't make you want to shout, I don't know what will. But the difficulty that we find in that is we tend to overlook the all things. We get it works together, and we get that it works for the good of them that love God and are called according to his purpose. That makes us feel real good because I love God and I'm called to his purpose. And it gives you hope. It gives you a sense of stability. But what we forget is the first passage. All things.
All things.
If it wasn't for all things, you wouldn't have to worry about this passage. And if you believe that you love God and you're called to his purpose and it's going to work together for your good, then something has to be the subject of that sentence. What is it that makes you suffer? What is it that is causing you distress? Where is your pain coming from? And when you're dealing with physical abuse, mental abuse, spiritual abuse, whatever type of abuse you're dealing with in a marital format, then all of a sudden, those things fall in that bucket. All things, not the things that I can handle on my own, not the things that I have control over, not the things that I can dictate, but all things, including my husband putting his hands on me, including my wife cutting me with her words, including all of those, the things that I can't control, that I can't do anything about, happens to fall into the category of all things. So now what it does is it pushes your faith. Is your faith strong enough to hold your belief system? Is your God strong enough to hold his own promise? Because if we believe that all things work together for the good, then why are we distressed when things don't work out like we thought they would? Why are we taken aback when things get hard in situations that we thought would be good? Nobody plans a divorce. Everybody plans a marriage. So at the end of the day, while you're spending thousands of dollars on marriages, on weddings, and you're spending hundreds of hours preparing for a day that will come and go.
And you'll have pretty pictures. Nice video.
Have you pondered and paused to think what will happen if it doesn't go like I thought it would? What I'm sorry, Coach. I didn't.
What do you do in a situation? I think that might have been the question.
He'll probably
chime
clarify.
back in.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, even God's divorce from us came with a promise of reconciliation. Absolutely.
Exactly.
So, the way that I approach this issue is very different because, people will tell you, you deserve better. Now, even people in church, you are God's child. You deserve better than this. Or you'll get people that say, God loves you.
He wouldn't want you to be.
He wouldn't want you to do this.
Miserable.
Some of, and I'm realizing that my darkest times, when you're refuses is it premarital or because if it's premarital,
then you don't get married,
and they refuse to get counseling, they're letting you know right now exactly who they are.
Right.
And if you decide to go before God and say, I do to this man or woman without premarital counseling, and they refuse to go, I don't want to hear it 6 months later in your current marriage.
That's hard because it's hard to fix a situation when only one part wants help. And so, essentially, what you have to do, and this is just personal opinion, you go for counseling and you work on self and let God handle the spouse.
And I am a firm believer that no matter how negative, nasty that my spouse can be, no matter how
negative, nasty.
Hush. No matter how bad it gets, it is my job there. It's my job to hold the marriage. Marriage is not 50-50. Marriage, a successful marriage is 100-100.
Yep.
A struggling marriage may be 50-50. It may be 100-0. It breaks when somebody stops giving their all.
Exactly.
So if they won't get counseling now, go get counseling on your own. Mm-hmm. Make yourself a better person.
Exactly.
And literally love the hell
out of them,
out of your spouse. Love. Martin Luther King said, "Hate can't conquer hate. Only love can do that."
Exactly.
Basically saying two wrongs can't make a right. So, if you are, especially if you're the head of the household, if you're the man of the house, you set the tone for your house if you realize it or not. If you take the first step, and if you step out on faith and if you trust God enough,
right,
and you do the things that are necessary in your life, I have a hard time believing that your spouse would not follow.
Because eventually God's going to prick their heart.
But even if they don't, you have to realize that you made a commitment not only to her, but you made it to God. And it is your job as the man to love your spouse. You love your wife like Christ loved the church. And if we look at things, we're not always, when we do wrong things, we don't want to go to counseling. We don't even want to admit what we did wrong to God. But he still loves us.
Exactly.
In fact, he loved us before we even knew that we needed to be loved.
Exactly.
So the challenge as a man is to love your spouse unconditionally, which is altogether a whole nother scope.
Yeah. We touched on it a little bit last
week. That's bananas.
Find comfort in your wrongness.
What if you're in a relationship? First one after a very hurtful one is their damage party. I encourage people that have had bad relationships to get counseling before they enter
another relationship.
You
have to heal yourself you have to be whole yourself in order to be in a relationship with somebody else. It's hard work being in a relationship simply because you have two personalities, two different ideals of life, and if you not whole yourself, you're not going to be good for nobody. Not even yourself.
Yeah. And one of the worst things that we could have ever, it sounds so poetic, it sounds so great. Honey, you complete me. If you're incomplete and you're looking to get into a relationship, you're looking to hurt the other person.
Exactly.
Needing completion from another person is scary in itself. Absolutely.
Exactly.
And sometimes it takes that long.
It does. And there's no timetable on it.
There's not. The timetable is when you're ready.
Exactly. Now, I will say, if you are in a relationship and y'all break up, March 30th and April 1st, you in another relationship, you haven't taken any time for yourself. I mean, that's not that long.
Unless you started that healing process before you broke up.
Well,
which happens.
You're right.
So what at the end of the day, when I'm asked, I can't speak for my wife, but whenever I'm asked about physically, mentally, verbally abusive relationships, I always go to Romans 8:28. And honestly, whenever I'm faced with hardships in my life, when things just aren't fair, when I feel like it didn't work out the way that I would have wanted it to, I have to remind myself, one, this isn't my plan.
Right.
Two, my plan failed a long time ago. So now I'm on plan B, which happens to be plan A from the beginning. So if I'm on God's plan, then I have to trust and believe in him,
Exactly.
even when I can't see him in it.
And that's hard.
Absolutely.
I mean, we would be lying if we sat here and said that it wasn't hard. That's very difficult to sit in a situation where you don't see God's hand at all, and it's just gloom and doom all around you. Like,
but you have to realize that you're not the first one. You won't be the last one.
Exactly.
You can go, when you're in situations like this where you feel like God has literally given up on you, taken his hand off of you, read Psalms. David, all the way through, like, God, look, don't forsake me. Don't leave me here. And, you know, in the black church, we've always, he brought us this far. I know he won't leave me. I ain't in no ways tired. You know, if you ain't heard that in your church, then I don't know what church you're in. But when you come to a situation in your life, you have to start to realize that all of the things that has happened in the past have brought you to this point so that you can succeed.
Exactly.
And when you look in your rearview mirror, you'll realize that the things that you came over are, you getting that?
Yeah.
The things that you came over are basically little hills, and now you're standing at the top of the mountain.
That question was, how do you protect the kids' minds when all of this is going on? Like, how do you protect the children?
Children are way more resilient than you would think.
Yeah.
Be truthful with your kids. Yeah. You are absolutely right. They already know what's going on.
Exactly.
Honestly, they probably knew before you decided to look at reality. So be honest with your child. Allow them to make their decisions in life,
right,
with parental guidance.
Exactly.
And that's my...
If it's an abusive situation...
Yep.
If it's an abusive situation, then of course you take the children with you when you leave, or send them to grandma and granddad's house, or godparents. We should do a scope on godparents,
maybe,
because that's an important one. Send them, somewhere where they're safe and they're loved for the moment, so that they're not in the midst of confusion.
Don't subject your children
to your foolishness.
To grown folks' foolishness.
Exactly.
And they're not at grown folk maturity level.
Exactly. They ain't asked for that.
And you'd be surprised, because some of the children that we deal with are more mature than their parents. So they might have the answer for you. If you would quit doing such and such, mama, you might have a man.
Oh, Lord.
If you'd quit doing such and such, daddy, mama might stay in the house.
Yeah.
It comes to a point where...
And don't take your kids with you with your foolishness.
Please don't.
I mean, I
have a 3-year-old that is the most matter-of-fact, honest, brutally honest person.
Very brutal.
I've ever met in my life.
Yes.
And she'll hit you with the most... what's the word I'm looking for? Blunt and honest retorts that you'll ever meet. I mean, to the point where if I'm sitting there, man, I'm cold. Well, if you put socks and shoes on, daddy, you would be cold. You're 3. Leave me alone. You know,
And the stuff she says, you can't get mad at her about it
because it makes
because
good
it makes sense.
So don't despise the youth of your children, because sometimes they have better sense than
Exactly.
you. So that being said, I do want to at least leave you with the thought of living out Romans 8:28. If we're going to say that it's going to work out, we have to realize that the working out part is God's part. The all things part is what we're going through.
Exactly.
And if we didn't go through all things, he wouldn't need to work it out.
Nope.
So sometimes you have to go through just so you can experience just how great
God is.
and mighty and amazing and powerful and majestic God is.
Exactly.
I'm a firm believer that, at least in the African American church, we were probably closer to salvation, closer to God, when we were closer to slavery.
Mm-hmm.
When we were closer to the Jim Crow era.
Oppression.
When we were being oppressed, people went to church because all they had was a trust that God would work it out. All they believed was that God would somehow, in all of this,
we relied on him more.
It would work out. Now that we have families that so-called made it, now that God is
an option,
secondary option, because we're wealthy enough where if it doesn't work out the way that we planned it, I have enough money.
I got a backup plan.
Not even, and it's not really even a backup plan. If I don't see it working out the way I want it, right, immediately I'll go into my backup plan.
Right. Quite honestly, we have harbored ourselves as well as our children generations of spoiled brats.
Entitled brats.
Yep.
Nothing like it. Okay.
So.
Say it on 9. That's
say it on 9?
Yeah. I apologize. Usually we're a lot more charismatic. Usually it's a lot more fun. Because marriage is great.
It is. We have fun. We have fun every day.
But this issue bothers me, and I wanted to figure out. That's another scope. I wanted to figure out a way where we can deliver a message of hope to somebody that's going through something. Yeah. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for thou art with me. Thy rod and thy staff shall comfort me. At the end of that, he says, surely both goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life.
Exactly.
You're not in this alone.
Nope.
You have goodness over one shoulder. You have mercy over the other. And you have Christ leading you through.
Exactly.
It will work out. It may not work out the way that you want. It may not work out the way that you planned. But God is able to do exceedingly and abundantly above all that you can ask or think. So if you think that you have the plan all worked out, watch God blow your mind. He can turn things around in a second.
Instantly.
And you'll look back and say, man, I remember when we were at each other's throats. I remember hiding in the closet because in your drunken rage, I was afraid that you were going to kill me. Now you don't drink anymore.
Right.
Now I'm not hiding. And we have a family that displays the love of Christ.
Exactly.
He can do it. It's all in a matter of how much do you trust him? How much do you trust him? All right.
I think that we'll give out a challenge and then we'll do, Making Marriage Matters announcements. I think the challenge of this week, if you know somebody that is in an abusive relationship, be it physical, be it mental, emotional, whatever the case may be, pray for that.
I was going to say, stay out of it.
Yeah, stay out of it.
And pray for them.
Pray this week. Be diligent praying for them daily.
And if you don't know somebody by name,
then just pray in general.
Prayers work. I'm living on some prayers that were said for me 20, 30 years ago that still cover me today. It's called a residual effect.
Okay, real quick story. And then I promise we're going to end because we really going over today.
Real Joel Osteen. A story.
Shut up. So we had the privilege of helping my grandparents clean out some stuff while they are transitioning into an apartment. And so we found my great-grandmother's Bible. And so me and my grandmother are sitting there going through it. You know, old people, they would write the names of the people that they praying for in the front cover of their Bible. And it was so mind-blowing, eye-opening, whatever. Because she had all her kids' names written in there. All her grandkids' names. And I was the only great-grand that she had written in the front of her Bible.
So she thinks she's special.
Well, not that. I know I'm special. I'm a child of God.
Oh, I'm the God. Oh, okay.
But what it made me realize is that I'm living off of prayers that she prayed. And she been gone for, 15 years now. And I know I'm still living off of some of the prayers that she prayed for me. And so don't take those prayers for granted. And let's not be stingy with our prayers and pray for somebody else. Because it might be that prayer that gets them through. Okay, so couple Making Marriage Matters announcements. We are planning a very small, intimate event. And we need, how many couples did we say? 3?
Yep, we'll do 4.
4. We need 4 couples. 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 that are available on May 14th. It's a Saturday from about 11 a.m. to around about 2. We'll say 2, give or take. You don't have to be from this area, but you would need to be able to get to Pontiac that day. So if you are available or if you know somebody that is available, yes, at B&G.
Hey. How you know?
If you are available or you know a couple that is... She said, because I know. Or you know a couple that is available. Please contact us and let us know because we need 4 couples.
I need 4 couples. Now look, I'm not selling you nothing.
No.
You don't have to buy anything.
Nope. You ain't got to pay for nothing. Just
you don't. I'm feeding you.
Right.
The only thing that I need is your knowledge and your
time.
Feedback and your time.
Yep.
And that's literally all that we need.
That's it.
Because we want to... When building a ministry, we want to make sure we're building it for the audience that needs it.
Exactly.
So it's really a think tank. Real talk though, Z,
we'll talk to you offline.
Yeah, because I might need you there.
Yeah. I was thinking about
Trey
that.
Trey can't come.
Yeah, Trey can't come. But
no, they do not have to be married.
Seriously dating.
Seriously, yeah.
But
seriously dating is a must.
Yeah.
But
they don't have to.
Do not have to be married, because part of making marriage matters. It's helping people
build
that are not married to build a healthy marriage before they jump in
and then try to fix something.
This is too much.
Right.
So no, they do not have to be. No. Thank you. That was an excellent question.
That was an excellent question. So yes, if it's you or if you know somebody, we need 4 couples.
The first 4, we'll take.
Exactly.
We'll do it that way.
So you can contact us on Facebook. You can email us RevGracey@gmail.com or JaylaGracey JaylaGracey @gmail.com.
Or you can find us on Facebook.
On the M3 Making Marriage page. If you have not liked the M3 Making Marriage Matters page, please go out and like it.
Please do so.
Yeah.
It's just the polite thing to do.
Right. I think that's it.
That's it.
So we love y'all.
Love you. Praying for all of you.
Yeah.
Go to somebody's church tomorrow.
Exactly.
Praise the only true and living God. Amen. If they're not talking about Jesus, find a new church. In the name of Jesus. Love y'all. Dos.